Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Desktop Ball, the only show where I sit at my desktop and talk ball. Today is Tuesday. Well, it's tomorrow morning is Tuesday, November 5th, the day of the most important event possibly in American history. Everybody's talking about it. I'm sure you're all going to be glued to your TVs. We've got Bowling Green at Central Michigan. We've got Miami of Ohio at Ball State. I'm sure all of you will be watching. It's going to be massive. Many are calling it the most important night slate in college football history, in American history, even. Um, no, I'm sure that's not what everybody's thinking about. It's election day tomorrow. I encourage you all to go vote. If you haven't voted, this is the current, I guess, like map of what people expect. I mean, we've known this for a while. There's six swing states. Either one, I mean, the northern ones are super valuable, and it feels like Trump is probably going to win the southern ones. Kamala needs to hold the northern ones. And, that's sort of the situation. I encourage you to go out and vote, especially if you're in one of those states where your vote really counts a lot. Um, I happen to live in a state where my vote does not count that much, but still go do your civic duty. A lot of people died so you could vote. So go get that done. I did not do a show on Thursday. I was traveling to Austin, so my apologies for the lack of a preview. And it's not like I didn't know I was going to be traveling. It was not like it was a surprise. Um, I honestly just forgot that I do this show on Thursdays, which is, a pretty piss poor excuse, frankly. But it was Halloween, busy weekend. I'm sure all of you had a great Halloween. I was busy. So without further ado, let's get into it. Jets 21, Texans 13 on Thursday Night Football. This feels like an eternity ago, but it was actually just last Thursday, and it's just been that long since I've done a show. Um, the Jets were gonna find their level eventually, and against a really banged up Texans team at home, feels like the right time to get it done. This was a trap spread of all trap spreads. I think it was like Jets -2 or something like that. And the whole world is like, how the hell are the Jets favored in this game? I happened to pick the Jets. The whole world was on the Texans, and I just figured Vegas must know something. Definitely not one of those games where I went into it like, oh, the Jets are better because of this, X, Y, Z, and no X and O's reason, no coach's reason other than the Texans are banged up and the Jets are gonna have to get a win eventually. Um, so yeah, I mean, nice win. The Garrett Wilson catch was absurd, and the Texans desperately need Nico Collins back, and just, honestly, they just need to be healthy. Um, their run defense was not very good in this game. The Jets' run defense isn't good either, but the Jets find a way to get a pretty boring win on Halloween night in a game that a lot of people maybe didn't pay that close of attention to. Um, and Garrett Wilson's catch was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like Odell Beckham catch rivaling level cool. Let's get to Sunday. I thought it was going to be a pretty boring slate of football games. It ended up being a relatively boring slate of football games, but some of them were ended up finishing close. So we got plenty to talk about here. Let's start it off with this. Stop me if you heard this before, but the Cowboys were down big and then did some window dressing late to make the score look a little better. Um, Falcons 27, Cowboys 21. The Falcons are just better. Bijan Robinson was incredible in this game, just ran all over them, and it's just so fun to watch him play good football. Especially, he's a Texas Longhorn. I'm a Texas Longhorn. I'll root for that guy forever as long as he doesn't go to one of my division rivals. I mean, he's just great. It's great to watch him play. Kirk Cousins had a nice game. Um, Mike McCarthy was smashing tablets, and Dak looked up at the jumbotron and said, "We fucking suck," after watching a play. I mean, the Cowboys are just absolutely in shambles. Micah Parsons going into this said on some podcast, "Game of the year for them, game of the week for us." Well, they won their game of the year. You lost your game of the week. Um, and the Cowboys are just not like a quality win anymore. Like beating the Cowboys doesn't feel special. It's just like you beat another bad team. Um, and the Falcons get by. They beat the Cowboys, and it's a nice win. it pretty much solidifies them as, or at least solidifies their massive lead in the NFC South. Drake London getting hurt in this game is really unfortunate. But I think he's day to day. I think it's just a hip like contusion or bruise or whatever. So I think he should be all right. Hopefully he'll be all right because he's been playing really, really well. Bills 30, Dolphins 27. The Dolphins have some life, which is really nice. They did everything they could to come back in this game. But Josh Allen's just playing MVP level football. Sean McDermott, game on the line, calls a 61-yard field goal. If they miss it, we're talking about how do you call that field goal? Tyler Bass has not been good this year, and he misses the field goal. The Dolphins turn around and kick their own game-winning field goal. It's really risky to do it, but he makes it. So we say, great job, way to have confidence in your players, and that was awesome. Um, I would like the Dolphins again. I keep being frustrated about the Dolphins to use Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle more. It feels like they've been scripted out of the game plan in some way, and they are just really really good at football. Devon Achane got 20 touches in this game, 12 carries, 8 catches, a pass touchdown or not like a receiving touchdown and a rush touchdown. He's incredible, and I don't want to take his touches away, but you got to get the ball to Tyreek Hill as much as you can. 4 catches is just not enough. He's so explosive. Surely you want the ball in his hands more often than that. But the Dolphins are frisky. They're going to beat somebody when it matters later in the year. Let's look. Rams, Raiders, Patriots. I mean, they could go 3-0 in those games and get right back into the mix. I don't necessarily think they will. I think the Rams are probably better, but Packers, Texans, Niners, like I bet you they'd catch either the Packers, Texans, or Niners sleeping and hurt their playoff chances in a pretty big way. Because this team is good. They still play good offense. I mean, it's still the Dolphins we know and love. Just lost Tua for half the year, and it is what it is. Bengals 41, Raiders 24. Joe Burrow's gone dark Joe mode. He's not happy unless they score a touchdown. He's yelling at Jermaine Burton that he didn't do anything to sit on the bench, get up off the bench, and go stand when he's not playing in the game at all. And I mean, he has taken it. It seems to me, at least for Joe and the Bengals, that he's taken it upon himself to be the reason they make the playoffs this year. I mean, 5 touchdown passes. Like, yeah, they played really well. You did play the Raiders, but they played really, really good football in this game. And the Bengals are going to play the Ravens next week to get to 5-5. If you beat the Ravens and you're 5-5, the whole season has turned around. You're all the way back, and now it's just about keep winning games. It's definitely not an easy opponent. The Ravens are a really, really good team, and they played in a shootout last time they played, but the Bengals need it. The Bengals need it bad. And if they go and win that game, we're all going to be changing our tune on what we think about the Bengals. At least that's my opinion. The Raiders are just down in the dumps. How many times is Antonio Pierce going to just switch quarterbacks just because they're playing poorly? Just destroy the confidence of all three of your bad quarterbacks. I mean, it's not like, I mean, between Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, and Desmond Ritter, you don't have a guy who's going to go in and play at MVP level. You are going to get what you're going to get with those guys. I don't like the benches. Like they bench a quarterback at least once a week. It's too much. Pick a guy, roll with your guy, figure out who's better, have some continuity. They're 2-7. They're doing everything they can to keep losing, but it's interesting. Chargers 27, Browns 10. Jameis had a really nice game against the Ravens, and then came into this against the Chargers. They were only like a 2-point dog in this game, and it just screamed people are overvaluing what Jameis can bring to this team. People were telling me that the Giants should go sign Jameis for next year after last week. I would like to hear those people say that again after watching this week. I mean, this is the way that Jameis plays. I mean, you're going to have games where he's incredible and you're going to have games where he's awful. You need a guy to go win you one game. Jameis Winston is the guy, but you need a guy to be like your day in, day out starter. I don't think that's Jameis. He threw some funny interceptions in this game. He finished with 3 interceptions total. And I mean, the Browns are just not very good. Even if Jameis was playing at an incredible level, this roster is very weak. For the Chargers, Justin Herbert is so awesome, and we largely have I would say we largely have looked over Justin Herbert in recent years because he had the great rookie year, and then the team struggled. They had a good roster and couldn't get it done. Brandon Staley was a bad coach. They find ways to lose. They find a new intricate way to lose every week. Um, with John Harbaugh, no. With Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, it's a functional franchise, and the roster's not even that good. They've got J.K. Dobbins going 14 carries, 85 yards, two touchdowns. They are, I mean, they are way overperforming their roster, which just says a lot about Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he's going to come in and bring the culture. He's going to bring the identity, and he's going to play. They're going to play tough, good football. They're going to beat teams worse than them handedly. They're going to lose to most teams better than them, but they're always alive because Jim Harbaugh brings in that kind of culture, that kind of mentality. They expect to win, um, unlike in previous years where you're just waiting for how it's going to collapse in the ugliest way possible. So good for the Chargers, 5-3. Um, the AFC is interesting because can we go to standings? Can we? Here we go. Full standings. Perfect. Conference. So, okay. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Texans, the Ravens are all like penciled in as really, really good. The Steelers are in there as well. So let's say those 5 teams are going to be playoff teams. Then you've got, in my opinion, these 4 and maybe 5. You know what? We'll even be generous. We'll say 5. You've got the Chargers, Broncos, Colts, Bengals, and Jets. And the Jets are obviously the 5th. We're being very generous saying a 3-6 team is alive, but they could be. You've got a lot of middling teams in there fighting for a wild card spot. The Broncos have played bad teams and beaten bad teams. Every time they play a good team, they lose. The Bengals have played some bad teams. The Colts have played some bad teams. There's not a lot of like solid in the AFC. There's one, two, three, four, five, six Titans, Dolphins, Browns, Jaguars, Raiders, Patriots. 6 2-win teams. And then the 4 or 5 really good teams. And that leaves, these 4 or 5 teams that are sort of in the middle, even though they're not very good, right? Like the Broncos are not that good. The Colts are definitely not that good. The Jets are surely not that good. Um, so, I mean, I believe in the Chargers. I believe in the Bengals. Of those, 5 teams, there are 2 spots up for grads. Those are the teams I trust. And really, it's just quarterback. I'm put me in a bind. I'm going to pick the 2 teams with the better quarterback that I'm used to seeing win. I like the Chargers. I like the Bengals. I think the AFC is relatively weak, and I think those teams both have, pretty good shot at getting in. Probably losing first round, but at least you got a shot to get in, right? Titans 20, Patriots 17. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess Drake May played pretty well in this game. The Ramondre Stevenson catch was crazy in the end zone, the bobbling and the pulling it down. Um, Mason Rudolph adds a level of functionality to the franchise, even though it's not like a much higher level. He's playing pretty well, I guess. Titans have a good defense and are going to be able to win some games just if they don't turn the ball over and find ways to score 20. They're going to beat plenty of bad teams like that. And the Patriots are a bad team. Drake May, I think, is pretty good, but the roster is just, I mean, you just cannot win with that roster. Um, his interception in overtime, he comes right afterwards and says, I was trying to play hero ball. That's not me. That's not what I'm supposed to do. Um, and I respect that. I mean, I like Drake May a lot. If you're a fan of the show, you know that I really believe in Drake May. And I think he's going to be career wise the best of the rookies this year. And they got to put the right pieces around him. But to me, he's shown a lot of real promise. The rookie who's the best right now is Jaden Daniels. 27 Commanders, 22 Giants. The Giants are 0-5 at home. Daniel Jones finally breaks his like 640-day streak of no pass touchdowns in front of the MetLife fans. Um, the Giants always play the Commanders tough. Oftentimes, the Giants beat the Commanders, but just couldn't get it done in this game. The Commanders are just better. The Commanders are a very fraudulent 7-2. Um, they got blown out by the Bucks. They got beat by a touchdown by the Ravens. Their wins are the Giants twice, the Bengals close. They blew out the Cardinals, so respect to that one. They blew out the Browns. They blew out the Panthers. A Hail Mary over the Bears. So it's not like this team is rolling good teams. Um, that being said, Steelers and Eagles the next 2 weeks. If they go 2-0 in those two games, then okay. This team is really, really good. 1-1, yeah, they're kind of just what I think of them. Like they're pretty good. Probably not Super Bowl, but pretty good. If they lose both, then I'm on the fraud watch train for the Commanders because they're playing good. They're playing good. Don't say that. They're playing well. Um, and they're winning games, but the Giants close 2 times and the Bears Hail Mary. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're that good. I think we're being really quick to crown them as incredible. But they are 7-2, and you get credit for winning games, and they keep winning games. For the Giants, Daniel Jones continues to just not be the answer. I'd like us to get the ball to Malik Neighbors more. Um, and one thing that like a Jared Goff does really well compared to a Daniel Jones is just the anticipation. Daniel Jones wants to see it before he makes the throw. I mean, you heard Troy Aikman talking about it last Monday night on Monday Night Football of just Daniel Jones wants to see the guy open and then throw. And in the NFL, it requires a level of anticipation in order to play at that elite level. Jared Goff is not going to win MVP. He's not the best quarterback in football, but his playmakers get open and the ball is out before they break often. He's got great anticipation. He's in a system that fits him well. And for the Giants, I don't know if it's the system. I don't think it is. I think it's Daniel Jones wants to see it. And you're just not going to win very many games that way. Pretty frustrating to be down 21-7 at half. I would like to just come out and play better football to start games. But it is what it is. And I mean, we're tanking. Let's pull up Tankathon. Let's see who's doing better. NFL draft order. Oh my goodness, we still have the 7th pick. That's so bad. Okay. New England needs a quarterback. The Saints need a quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback. The Browns need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. That's 5 teams above us. We have the 7th pick. There's still 5 teams above us that are quarterback needy. Get ready to learn Jalen Milroe, buddy. It's not good enough. You gotta lose. You gotta lose more. Um, Although I root for us to win in every game. I hate the tanking thing. I don't like it. I root for us to win, but it sucks. We're gonna be in quarterback limbo for the next couple of years, it feels like. Um Saints no. Panthers 23, Saints 22. Saints Twitter erupted after this one. Former players, Michael Thomas, current players, just Dennis Allen gets fired. I mean, the whole thing is just a total collapse. Michael Thomas is saying Derek Carr sucks, and you fire all these coaches just to cover up for the fact that Derek Carr sucks. And one of their the Saints, I think D tackles, maybe it was even Cam Jordan's like tweeted, we just lost to the Panthers, and one of them was calling it the Cottonelle Doo Doo Bowl. We just lost the Cottonelle Doo Doo Bowl. JC Horn replied to the guy that said we just lost to the Panthers and was like, "We got the same record, buddy. Like the Saints started 2-0. We crowned them the best offense in football, playing great, like really well. Um, and now they've lost 7 straight, including a loss to the Panthers. The wheels are coming off. Dennis Allen's now fired, which he probably should have been years ago. And Saints are just in an awful spot. And they're in cap hell. I mean, they are like $70 million above the salary cap. It's the worst of anybody in football. And The chickens are going to come home to roost, and this team is going to be bad for a while. Chris Olave's brother, after Chris got concussed in this game, was tweeting like, like Chris is okay, he's responsive at the hospital. Um, Somebody replies, it's time to start considering, questioning whether it's worth it. And his response to that is, it certainly ain't worth it in NOLA, which I think tells you all you need to know about the inner workings of that locker room. It's completely fallen apart. Alvin Kamara had 155 yards though, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, and it's a nice win for the Panthers. Bryce Young played pretty well. Not incredible, but he played pretty well. Ravens 41, Broncos 10. Every time the Broncos step up in class, they get stomped, including in this game where they just got absolutely abused. Lamar continues to play MVP caliber football. Derrick Henry is incredible. Zay Flowers is so unfair for the Ravens to have because Lamar can extend plays and nobody's keeping up with Zay Flowers for that long. And yeah, I mean, the 41-10 is just an absolute ass kicking. The Ravens are just vastly better than the Broncos. Um, if the Ravens could stop slipping up against bad teams, I mean, they would be maybe 8-1, and I mean, they're really, really good. Probably the best offense in football, maybe other than the Lions. They're so real. They're so real. And if they had beaten the Chiefs in that first game, which they nearly did, we could be singing a real different tune about the Ravens. And we're already saying they're incredible. I think we could be saying they're the best in football, and nobody's saying that today. But I mean, they're right there. Eagles 20. Anything to say about the Broncos? No, I have nothing to say about the Broncos. They're not that good. Eagles 28, Jaguars 23. The Eagles did everything in their power to throw this game late. A game that they totally dominated and had total control over. Saquon Barkley is absolutely incredible. Letting an athlete like that walk because you don't want to pay him the marginal $3 or $4 million it would have cost to keep him is clearly a mistake. I think everybody's aware of this and clowning the Giants accordingly for doing so. Jalen Hurts is playing incredible football. Just has been so good the past couple weeks. No turnovers, making good throws, running like a madman. Tush push failed twice in this game on 2-point conversions, but it's been working other than that. Saquon 27 carries, 160 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the Eagles are really good. Like we keep we keep not respecting the Eagles, but they're playing really well, especially, I mean, these past 3 weeks. I think you get credit for blowing out the Giants because, I mean, look at the team like the Commanders. They can't. So you get credit for blowing out the Giants, blow the doors off the Bengals, and then blew out the Jaguars and had some coaching errors and even honestly, referee errors. I thought Saquon was clearly down by contact on the fumble six. They reviewed it for what felt like 3 seconds. It was like they looked at it, they're like, "Oh, okay, ruling confirmed." And it was like, "What?" Like he got his leg taken out from under him, but whatever. But yeah, I think the Eagles are really good, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I don't want the Eagles to be good, but they are. Cardinals 29, Bears 9. The Bears season's over. Their schedule is just too hard. Also, they're 0-4. Oh, we'll get to that. They're 0-4 on the road. The Bears' schedule is too hard down the stretch. Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers. Oh, and that's right. Sorry. Packers, Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers. I mean, you might win 2 games in that entire stretch. They could finish as a 7-win team. That's very realistic. Season's over. You had to be at, you had to of this. I mean, you needed to beat the Colts. You needed to beat the Commanders. You needed to beat the Cardinals, and you don't get it done. Matt Eberflus is just so not the guy, and it's just glaringly obvious that he's not the guy. Um, I thought the defense maybe quit a little bit in this game. I mean, the touchdown run at halftime to me was signs of quit. And I mean, the Cardinals are good. Like, don't get me wrong, the Cardinals are good. They've been playing well, and they've been like I don't know. They're at least frisky. I don't think they're going to win this division, but I mean, they've got some impressive wins. This Chargers win is nice. The Dolphins win is nice. The Niners win is great. They blew out the Rams, which the Rams weren't healthy, but they blew out the Rams. Um, I mean, they've got some good wins. They're tied for the top of that division, and they're pretty good. They're relatively serious. I don't think they're going to win that division, but I think they are good. Maybe a wild card team. The NFC is going to be really interesting in the wild card because the NFC North is probably taking three spots with the Vikings, Packers, and Lions, which means there's one spot left for, and then the Eagles and Commanders. So like the NFC West is probably a one bid division, which I feel like it hasn't been in recent years. And it's a bunch of like very solid teams in that division. It's going to be really interesting to see who wins that division. And all of those divisional games matter so much. Um, I mean, I feel like I'm honestly letting the Bears off easy here. I mean, it's just pathetic to score 9 points against the Cardinals in a game that you must win. The play calling is bad. It feels like DJ Moore is not trying. Um, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And maybe it's DJ Moore wanted to stick with Justin Fields and that's not what happened and he's upset that things aren't going well, but I don't know. I mean, you finish out plays, release like it matters. Just do the little stuff right, and the little stuff is not getting done right for the Bears. They have no identity, contrary to the Chargers, like Jim Harbaugh. Matt Eberflus does not bring an identity to the team. Um, in my entire time remembering the Bears, their coaches have largely been pushover type of guys, and you know who it reminds me of? It's 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 different in a lot of ways, but it's similar in a lot of ways. They remind me a lot of the late 2010s Texas Longhorns of, bringing in coaches who are going to be for the Texas Longhorns, you know, are going to be able to be pushed around by the boosters who don't have a strong identity and a strong culture and all these types of things. And, you try a new guy, you build the best roster and everything should work. And for whatever reason, it just always collapses because there's a losing culture. There's, not the proper investment in the offensive line, bad coaching, whatever it is, right? And it's because you're letting the boosters behind these coaches coach the team. Texas brings in Steve Sarkisian, who has an identity, who is not going to be pushed around by boosters, and the program turns around in 2, 3, 4 years. The Bears need a guy like Steve Sarkisian. And I'm not saying go hire Steve Sarkisian because things are different at an NFL level, but you cannot have somebody who's going to get pushed around by ownership, pushed around by fans, bullied into benching Tariq Stevenson, bullied into, all these things. You need a guy who knows what he's doing and confidently makes the correct decision more often than not. Matt Eberflus is not that guy. John Fox wasn't that guy. Trestman wasn't that guy. I mean, that you have to bring in somebody who is not going to be pushed around by the ownership and knows what they're doing. Jim Harbaugh was that guy. Maybe Mike Vrabel could be that guy. Maybe Ben Johnson from the Lions could be that guy. But yeah, I mean, I think they should fire Eberflus. I think it doesn't matter if you don't then go and hire the right guy. And the Bears have, in my lifetime, just always done it wrong. I think they'll probably continue to do it wrong. But if they can get Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, a guy who's going to come in and do the right things the right way, um, maybe there's some hope there for them. Lions 24, Packers 14, sticking in the NFC North. The Lions are just so damn good. And it was a game in the rain where you just let Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery just absolutely eat. And that's what they do. I mean, they run it down your throat. They just play great offense, good defense, best offensive line in football. They're so, so good. They're so, so real. Um, I thought the Packers were going to make this a little more of a game, but frankly, it felt like the Lions could have beat them by more points if they wanted to. Jordan Love looked very hurt, very immobile in this game. Um, Fortunately for the Packers, I think they have their bye next week. So, oh no, they do not. Oh, wait. That's 11-17. Yeah, no, they do have their bye next week. It's weird that it doesn't say bye on ESPN. So yeah, they have the bye next week, and Jordan Love, go get healthy, figure it out, and come back hopefully stronger. I still think the Packers are really good. I'm not selling my Packers stock. Josh Jacobs was good in this game. Jaden Reed is always fun to watch, but the Lions are just incredible. I think I mean, if we didn't have to revere the Chiefs the way we have to revere the Chiefs, the Lions are the best team in football right now. I mean, they're playing just perfect football week in and week out. Jared Goff has been just about perfect for the system that he's in. Amon-Ra St. Brown makes an incredible catch every single week. They're doing it without Jamison Williams, who, is honestly, in my opinion, not that big of a factor, but they are doing it without him. And I mean, they're the best team in football. And I'm sorry if you don't like that opinion. Like, the Chiefs are not better than this team today. I would pick the Lions on a neutral site today. Rams 26, Seahawks 20. This pulls the Rams to 4-4. I think gives the Rams a real shot at this division. Cooper Kupp is playing well. The Puka ejection was all kinds of soft, but whatever. The Rams find a way to win. Matt Stafford continues to play well. Demarcus Robinson continues to play well. And I think for the Seahawks, the wheels are just largely falling off. I think this team is not that good. Finally, beginning to regress to the level that I think we all expected them to, even last year. So I don't know. I'm not a big Seahawks buyer. I am a big Rams buyer. So, there's definitely a little bit of bias here. Pretty close game. I mean, it went to overtime, but it just felt to me like the Rams were the better team the whole time. And then Sunday night football, Vikings, Colts. The Vikings win ugly. This game was ugly. Joe Flacco threw an interception that had me thinking, if Joe Flacco's going to throw that kind of interception, why is Anthony Richardson on the bench? He threw it, I mean, just threw it at a receiver who was as covered gets, rifles it right to the cornerback who intercepts it. I mean, the Vikings are good, but the Colts should have won this game, and they gave it away in a few different ways. That being said, Justin Jefferson was awesome in this game. Jordan Addison makes an incredible catch. Aaron Jones, pretty good on their ground. The Vikings are really good. I'm very interested to see how the NFC North is going to shake out between the Packers and Vikings, and maybe one of those teams somehow catches the Lions. I don't see it, but I think it's at least going to be really interesting to see how those teams play out for the wild card. And the division is just so good. Those three teams are so good, and the Bears should be better than they are. They just aren't. And I mean, for the Colts, it sucks because you made the Joe Flacco move, and once you've made it, it's kind of like you kind of can't go back, right? But I mean, he needs to not throw bad interceptions if he's going to be the starter, because otherwise you could have Anthony Richardson do that. And he loves to throw a bad interception, Mr. Richardson. Chiefs 30 bucks 24. All there really is to say about this game is that the Buccaneers should have gone for two at the end of regulation, in my opinion, at least. Um, you're the inferior team on the road against the best team in football. If this game goes to overtime, you're not going to win it. You just are probably not going to win this game if it goes to overtime. End the game with the ball in your hands. End the game with your best play against their best defense and see if you can steal a win. I mean, I've said plenty of times what I think of Todd Bowles as a head coach. I don't think he's a very good head coach. I mean, consider this versus Brian Daboll's first start or as head coach. The Giants go to the Tennessee Titans, who were coming off of a playoff season the year before, and they're a better team. Score a touchdown to go down 20-19, and he goes for two with not very much time left in the game, succeeds, and the Brian Daboll Coach of the Year era is ushered in New York. Compare that to Todd Bowles yesterday. You're playing the Chiefs. They're better than you. If the game goes to overtime, you're probably going to lose. What does he do? He lets the game go to overtime. He plays, in my opinion, scared, and they lose. I'm impressed with how well the Bucks are playing without Godwin and Mike Evans. I think Cade Otton has been incredible for them. Sterling Shepard's playing well. I mean, they're getting it done in all kinds of different ways. It seems that they are able to get it done with a bunch of different players, which is surprising. But they haven't been able to win the games yet without those guys. They had a close loss to the Falcons, close loss to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are really good. I mean, they're 8-0. They're gonna win every close game. I mean, this is what they do. You have to blow them out if you want to beat them, and their defense is too good to be blown out most of the time. So get ready for more and more Chiefs. They're really good. I think the Lions are better, but they are really good. Let's do some college football. And we're not looking for next week. Let's talk about last week. Um, so a few big games. Boise State continues to roll. I think they're like, head and shoulders the bid of the non-power conferences as long as they just keep winning. I think it's pretty obviously Boise State at this point. Oregon rolls Michigan. This score is not indicative of how close this game was. Oregon's really good. Georgia beats Florida. Florida's probably not that good. We'll get to this one. This one's the big one. Any window dressing? Yeah, a couple. South Carolina blows out Texas A&M. Texas A&M is not that good, and I mean, and it shows. They lose by 24 to South Carolina. Just a team that is hard to believe in. This Aggie team. And South Carolina is good. They're a couple like close losses and referee calls away from having like a real good record. They should be ranked. They're better than a lot of teams that are. Texas Tech goes to Iowa State and gets a massive win. Texas Tech is alive in the Big 12. They need to win out and have help. But they are alive in the Big 12. They have two losses. Two bad losses. This TCU loss is inexcusable. And the Baylor loss, I mean, losing by 24 to Baylor is maybe even more inexcusable, but I digress. It's not like this team is a juggernaut that should win a ton of games, but they go and they knock off Iowa State, basically ending Iowa State's chances of being an at-large bid. They can still go win the Big 12, but you have to be undefeated to get an at-large bid, and they're not going to get it. Louisville goes into Clemson and knocks off Clemson. I was really high on Clemson. I'll admit that. And they got punked by Louisville. And even the score is not indicative of the game. I mean, look at it. They were up 7-3 at the end of the first, down 17-7.5, down 26-7 at the end of the third. Rally back a little bit to make it at least kind of close. But I mean, Louisville dominated this game. It's honestly incredible. Clemson, they're not very good, and now that they have an ACC loss, it's going to be SMU. It's going to be SMU versus Miami. They're now 5-0 in the ACC. They get a massive win over Pittsburgh. Pitt was ranked. SMU manhandles them, and maybe SMU is good, guys. Like they have the loss to BYU, a 3-point loss, which is aging so nicely. They pounded TCU. They pounded Florida State. They beat Louisville, beat Pitt. They just have to win 3 games against 3 teams that are not that good and be in the ACC championship in their first year, which is incredible for them. Kansas State gets knocked off by Houston, which is just inexcusable. And I mean that's about it. I guess Minnesota beat Illinois. Illinois is not that good. Okay, let's do the big one. Right, it's just that one that was big, right? There's nothing else. Yeah. All right, so the big one. Ohio State goes into Happy Valley and beats Penn State. Undefeated Penn State hosts Ohio State and loses. Stop me if you've heard of that before. I did not get to watch this game. I'm a little sad that I didn't get to watch this game, but I was doing stuff. I was busy. Saturday night on Halloween weekend, I'm still young enough to go and do stuff. Although I'm sure plenty of college football sickos were staying home and watching this game because it was hyped up to be an absolutely incredible game. It seems like Ohio State is the better team. Well, I know Ohio State is the better team. They went into Penn State and beat them. They've got a good run game between those two running backs. Will Howard, it looks like, played serviceably in this game, and Penn State just cannot get over this hump. They need to they need to keep winning. They don't have many like challenging opponents on the roster. It's interesting. I mean, Penn State's just not that good. Everybody's kind of had them on fraud watch, I think, the whole year. For me, um, for me, it's been these four teams, and Miami's in there, but for me, it's been Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas all year, and Miami is still in there. I don't believe in Miami one bit, but I think those four teams are the best four teams, and it's probably good that it's a 12-team playoff because Miami would steal a bid from one of these four teams, um, otherwise. So I think 12 teams is good because I think at least Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, like these teams should get to compete. Look at Alabama. They're sneaking their way. They're sneaking right on up there. Um, if a 12-team playoff, if it ended today and there were a 12-team playoff, you'd have Miami and BYU and Boise State as the other three, teams. You'd probably have Oregon and Georgia as conference winners, and Alabama sneaks in. I mean, just look at this AP poll. Alabama's going to sneak in. I mean, all they have to do is keep winning, and they're going to sneak in. This Alabama LSU game next week is everything for those two teams. And Ole Miss needs to beat Georgia if they want any chance of sneaking in. Army, just keep winning. Clemson, you're probably out at this point. Everybody needs to just keep winning. Just keep winning games. Pretty cool that Louisville finally gets ranked. I still think, guys, South Carolina should be ranked. Oh, Mizzou's finally not ranked. Good. 81. 81 votes is ridiculous. They should not have 81 votes. They're so bad. All right, lastly, we had some college basketball last night. There's college basketball is finally back. There's only like two or three games I want to talk about because I know that it's early November college football and nobody wants to hear about that. So let's do the big ones. First, UCF knocks off Texas A&M. A&M still has that kid Wade Taylor the fourth from last year's tournament. You might remember him. He is still incredible, but he was not enough to lift them over UCF in this game. It's a big home win for UCF, who is, they're a basketball school, and they play good quality basketball. I'm a Texas fan, so I would have talked about this either way, but Ohio State does not go to Texas. At this is in Las Vegas, but Ohio State led from the jump and then just led the whole game and won. Texas has I want to say rookie because I'm in such this like pro football mode. Texas has a freshman point guard named Trey Johnson, who's I think either the first or second highest rated point guard in this recruiting class. He had 29 points in this game. He's incredible. If you're a Texas fan, look forward to watching more Trey Johnson. Uh, and the basketball identity for Texas is still there of play tough defense. But you got to score more points than the other team to win games, and they could not put together enough points to win this game. Ohio State is good. A lot of people said that Ohio State should have been preseason ranked. They weren't. They will be now. I think Ohio State's like relatively good, should be ranked. North Carolina, you remember RJ Davis, he's still there. Elliot Cadeau is still there. So definitely the bones of a good team. Struggled a bit against Elon in this game, but end up handling business. Arizona, do you remember Caleb Love? He's still there. He's playing his eighth year of college basketball or whatever. Okay, let's go over to the big ones. This is not a big one. Duke manhandles Maine. Cooper Flag is so legit. He is so legit. Be ready for a Duke championship. And then Alabama, do you remember Mark Sears from last year? He's still a baller and he's incredible. The big game of the night was Gonzaga Baylor, but you would not be able to tell just from the scores. Gonzaga manhandled Baylor. They've got this kid Huff, who I believe is a freshman. He wears number 34. He's gigantic, and he's an automatic 2 points if the ball gets into his hands, or three because they have to triple cover him and kick it out for a wide open three. Um, just not a performance you'd expect from a Scott Drew Baylor team in this game. You expect them to at least play everybody tough. They did not play Gonzaga tough. Mark Few's kid got into the game at the end and got jammed on. I mean, like, like seriously jammed on. Which feels pretty bad. But imagine if he goes up and gets that block, it would have been electric. So yeah, college basketball's back. Ole Miss is preseason ranked. Chris Beard. You guys remember Chris Beard from Texas Tech and then Texas, and then he beat his fiance and like bitter, and he got fired from Texas, and then Ole Miss immediately hired him. Yeah, he's got a ranked team down in Oxford. Be ready for some Ole Miss this year. It's Chris Beard. I mean, he's going to run a functional team. They're going to be good, and that sucks so bad. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Desktop Ball. Not this week's. I will be back Thursday to do previews. My apologies again. I encourage you all to go vote. Happy Election Day, and then go home, enjoy a glass of wine or whatever you do, and pray for the future of our country. I'm not gonna sit here and endorse a political candidate. That's not what we do on this show. Um, I will endorse the Texas football Longhorns to go beat the Florida Gators this week and endorse the firing of Daniel Jones and excommunication of Daniel Jones. Anything else I want to endorse? Trey Johnson. I want to endorse Trey Johnson. He's our freshman basketball point guard. He's incredible. Endorse RJ Davis for Player of the Year at North Carolina. If it's not him, it's probably going to be Cooper Flagg or Mark Sears. So keep your eyes open for those guys. And yeah, no further endorsements. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all on Thursday.